Imagine waking up every single day and feeling like the world is just crashing upon you every single day, and that you don't even have the energy to get out of bed, and that you don't have the resources that you need or the support or help that you need to be able to overcome this mental illness that you have. Unfortunately, this is a reality of millions of Americans throughout the United States that don't have access to mental health care or any support at all to be able to overcome these mental illnesses. Today I'm going to be talking about why it is so important that America needs to raise funding for mental health care and also reduce stigma around mental health, because a lot of people do not like to talk about it at all and just feel like it's a burden or it's shameful to have a mental illness, which is just not the case. And as someone that's personally dealt with mental illness and also has seen it in my family as well, I know firsthand how detrimental that mental illness can be and how much it can really affect your life if you don't have the treatment that you need. According to the World Health Organization, mental health can cause physical problems as well. It can cause things like heart disease and high blood pressure and many physical things that affect your body. It can also cause depression, which can lead to very unhealthy behaviors, which staying in bed all day, you're not going to be eating the best probably. You're probably going to be eating either fast food or probably not eating at all or eating too much, which can really take a toll on your physical health. So now you have two problems to deal with: your physical health and also your mental health as well. So it's really important that you take care of your mental health before having to deal with those physical aspects as well. The National Alliance on Mental Illness also says that it affects your social relationships. So when you're laying in bed all day or you just don't really feel like reaching out to people because you're just struggling so much in your mind, it can really affect other people because they might not necessarily understand how you're feeling, because its mental health isn't talked about as much. So they might really just not get how you're feeling, and they might get offended that you're not reaching out, and it'll just like affect your relationships in general, which can lead to even more depression because now you don't have your support system like your friends. The American Psychological Association also says untreated illness can impact your life as well. For example, being in college, you're obviously having to go to class every day and doing homework, and when you're not wanting to leave your house, you might not really want to even go to class, which will there affect your grades, and you're probably not going to want to take those extra steps to further your education or career, like go to career fairs or get internships that will help you get jobs later on. So you're probably not going to want to be able to do that because you're just struggling too much in your mind, that when you don't do that, it will lead to you potentially not getting a good job when you graduate, or maybe even dropping out of college and wasting all the money that you spent on the classes. So it can really negatively impact your life and how it turns out in the future as well, later down the road. The National Institute of Mental Health also says that it can cause you to be unable to work, which will therefore affect your income as well, and you contributing to just the economic society as a whole. You're not going to be able to work, and that will negatively impact you financially, which can cause you to even not be able to get the resources for your mental health because you can't even afford it. So that's why we need to help those people that do not have the access or can't afford to help their mental illness. The American Psychiatric Association also says that mental health can lead to violent behaviors, and that's not to say that because you have a mental illness you will become violent or you will become a criminal, but it is a lot more likely that it will happen. And people in poorer areas with less access to mental health is an increase in crime as well. And according to the Mental Health Foundation, stigma can cause people to not be able want to reach out. So they feel like they're embarrassed, and they just like, they don't want people to know that they're struggling that way because it's not talked about as much, and they feel like, oh, well, everyone else is so happy, how come I feel this way? And so it causes them to just want to hide it, which will in turn make it even worse because they're just keeping it and bottling all up inside, which will lead to like an outburst one day. So we really need to shift social attributes and just normalizing mental health as a whole because it's a lot more common than people realize. A survey in the Kaiser Family Foundation also says that people that don't get help because of access and cost. So a lot of people can't afford to get mental health care, and so they just opt out of it because they're like, well, I can't afford it, so they don't get the help that they need. And I feel like that is unacceptable because everyone deserves to be able to have that access to mental health because it will help our society as a whole. And we also need to do this by increasing mental health funding, either by more insurance coverage for mental health or more government funding to increase the funding for mental health for people that cannot afford it. So that is my speech on how we need to get more access to mental health resources, and we need to increase that funding and just break the stigma of mental health in general. We need to break the silence and take action. Thank you.